Hey, what's going on, diecast collectors? This is going to be a relatively extensive look at the Greenlight Nissan GTR, starting with this Motor World release. Pretty basic release. Nice wheels. I actually like the wheels. Motor World does feature a plastic base. This casting has transparent lensed headlights. Not the cleanest. Tail lights and reverse lights are painted. Nice dual exhaust there at the bottom. That's all painted detail. This casting is a weird casting for me because sometimes I think they look really good and sometimes I think they look awful. Now this one from the silhouette looks okay, but from this angle it looks horrible. Unless if you pull the wheels out, which the rear axle will only slide so far. That's how the wheels should be. They should be all the way out against the edge of the fender. So it's just kind of goofy. The tooling itself is okay. This one here is another one that I don't particularly like. This was a premium release in the hobby shop, but for some reason, and I know the reason, they released it with a plastic base. The reason they did that with a premium release is because they released it with the race car driver. I don't like the deco on this car. I don't like the black around the wheel well. I don't know, I just think it looks kind of odd. And there's your stance issue. Major stance issue. So, love the wheels, don't particularly care for this release. So those are the only two that I have that have a plastic base. Another hobby shop release was this Falcon. It's a Falcon Deco. It's got the same wheels in white, and I actually like this one. I think it's a decent deco. The problem with this is the base was spun crooked, and so it has a massive gangster lean. This side looks good, but this side, as you can see, does not. And it's just a mismounted base will cause that. This casting in particular is known to have that issue. So is the R34. Now, one of the first ones that they brought out was the first cut, which is a relatively limited release. And the first cut is a 2-car release. They've only done it with a few toolings, like the GTR, there's a Jeep Wrangler, there's a Silverado, there's an F-150, they did it with the Monte Carlo, but they didn't do many. The only two that I have is the GTR and the Monte Carlo. But with them, you get a raw version of the car, which is clear coated. It has no deco, no tampo. It just has whatever lensed detail and then clear coat. So it's a nice raw representation of the tooling. But even this one has the stance issue. It is kind of cool though to have a raw version of the car, because then you can really see all of the detail, all of the sculpted detail that the car has. And it makes you kind of appreciate all of the little details that they do, like the exhaust. And then with the raw, you also get basically like a factory deco, which in this case would be this one, which is actually a really nice looking car from the side. I think this is a really nice deco. Now it's a different number, $15.95, and then the raw is $15.19, but they did come as a 2-pack. And then you have your lensed headlights, really nice wheels. Pretty sure these are prototypical wheels, but even on this one, a little bit of a stance issue. But it's still, this car displays very, very nicely. So the stance issue on that one really doesn't bug me too much. Another early release for the GTR, I don't remember what series this came from. One of my favorite GTRs they've done, the Black Bandit, not going to show up good on the video. It's basically just like the other one we just saw, except it has black wheels and tinted windows, and that's just about the only difference. But this thing is sweet, and for some reason this one doesn't have the goofy stance. You can only attribute that to one of two things, and that's exactly what it is. These wheels have spacers on them, and that prevents the wheels from going too far inside the wheel well, whereas this one does not have spacers. So that solves that problem. This thing is nice looking though. Definitely one of my top 3 Greenlight GTRs. Now, they've done a whole bunch of like hobby exclusive stuff, Miho and stuff like that. This is one of those. I like this deco a lot. But this one also has the bass issue, although it's not as exaggerated as the Falcon car. Really cool deco though. One of the first exclusive cars that they did was this one here. This is one of my absolute favorite. I think this thing just looks fantastic. And then around that same time, they put out the Golf GTR, which is another pretty cool one, I think. Then the next set of exclusive GTRs that came out was the Brie, which is, even though it's not the best deco, it's a must-have for any JDM collector. Gotta have this one. Rock Racing. Thankfully, this one was spun proper. Yeah, I do like this one a lot. But I think this next one looks better. It was released at the same time. This has the hand-cooked tires. I just think this deco looks better. Debris is number 4008. And then the last exclusive that they did, at least the last one of all these, is from the Racing Hitch and Tow. This was a Miho exclusive. Originally was supposed to have a Firestone deco, but there were licensing issues, so because of that, it delayed the release of this car, and they had to redesign it with the Goodyear deco, which I think looks pretty good. I like the yellow lenses. One of my least favorite GTRs that they've done is from the unofficial Fast and Furious muscle. I don't remember what series it was, but Greenlight muscle. The one where they did the Dodge Charger and the two Chevelles. And I think there was like a Challenger or something. I just don't like this release of this car because of these wheels. They're too small. Look at that. That looks awful. It just looks awful. If it wasn't for that, it would look okay. Now the next two, I think Greenlight really started to try to address the issue of the stance, because both of these have massive spacers. This is from Tokyo Torque Series 1. An off-white color, looking pretty good, I think. Not great. This one also has I think a little bit of an issue with the way the base was spun, but overall looks decent. But this next one is my favorite of all of them. I absolutely love this car. Satin black. It looks pretty phenomenal. I love the primer gray wheels. They got the stance right on this one. Cool thing too about this GTR R35, there's a really nice satin black R34 to go with it. Well, before we go too deep into that, So those are the 35s. Now we will look at the 34s. This is from Black Bandit. I can tell you these cars have a ton of issues with the base. This being one of them. Look at the stance on that. It's horrible. And it's a shame. This side looks good. But it's a decent tooling that is ruined by an awful stance. I do need to find a replacement for this. This one's cool too. It has a nice carbon fiber hood, which does open. Not many 1:64 scale R34s have opening hoods. There are not many of them out there. That one's alright. These would all be awesome if they were executed properly, because the design I think is really good. Lensed headlights, and just like the R35, lensed headlights, painted taillights. The first R34s to arrive was this one, Tokyo Torque Series 1. And surprisingly, this one doesn't have the base issue at all. It only took me 4 to get one that doesn't. This was my 4th one. So that's pretty cool, I think. Also in Tokyo Torque Series 1 came this champagne color. This is my favorite one that they brought out so far. And this one doesn't have the stance issue either. Actually looks pretty good. And then this one I like a lot, except for the fact that this one has the worst stance issue of all of my R34s. It's just awful. Luckily though, it displays nicely on this side, so I just have to go with that. It sucks because this was kind of an expensive one. That wasn't a $6 Greenlight. And then the most recent R34 that they put out, and easily the nicest build quality of all of mine, is this one here from Tokyo Torque 2 in white. They should redo the Fast and Furious set now that they have the R34. I don't know why so many of these have issues with the base. I don't know if it's just poor design or I don't know what it is. They need to fix it though. So anyways, which one do you all like? I'm telling you, Greenlight, it's a great brand to collect. It's a lot of fun. It's a whole bunch of selection. And it's not like Auto World where, I mean, yes, obviously they've put a ton of these R35s out. There's probably a dozen that I don't have. I have most. Really, the only ones that I'm missing is the silver Motor World, and I'm missing the anniversary GTR. But other than those two, the only ones I'm missing are exclusives, like the Tarmacs, which are way too expensive. I'm not going to pay that. If I was going to pay that much for a die-cast car, I would get a Kyosho R35, which is much nicer. But for $6, these are really nice. I just wish that they would execute it better. I wish they would step up their game a little bit with the build quality. Those are the only 5. Actually, those right there are the only 4 that have come out. All of the rest of them, like that one, there's also a Falcon R34 with that deco, and there's a couple others. Those are all exclusives. But these are the only 4 so far that have come out just in the commercial releases. So there you go. Greenlight Nissan. I should say Greenlight GTR. Now they do have a new GTR tooling coming out at the end of July or the beginning of August. So keep your eyes out for that. It's going to be the Hakosuka Skyline GTR, so that'll be cool. Although I wish that they were doing the Ken Mary instead. But alright, thanks for watching. Y'all take care. I will holler at the next video.